why are comedians continually being asked to comment on politics and journalism?
And so when I look at a Nick Shirley, I'm like, whether he is right about the next story he engages or not, it's how he goes about it. And it's
So this is a video about Nick Shirley and his on the street journalism type, right? And so he's being interviewed by Charlemagne the God here. I guess his name is Joshua or some Josh Johnson. I can't remember what his name is, but I think he's a comedian. I've seen him on clips before. But this argument that he's making is something that I hear a lot. Basically, I used to hear it from my ex. It's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it, which is nonsensical, because then how you can change it over and over and over again and people are still not liking the message. The truth of the matter is that the message is the problem. It's not how people are delivering the message. But let's go on and hear what he's actually saying here.
And it's also who he does it to, because it's not true. Journalism is supposed to be journalism across the board. If your journalism is only finding where the fraud is in any brown or black skinned community, so that you can perpetuate, so you can perpetuate a narrative that all black and brown people are scammers. You look at crack.
Okay, so he's talking about this being basically a hit job on anybody who's not white, or particularly black and brown people, which is, it's not factual, because Nick Shirley has gone into communities that were, most of them are immigrant communities, but you're just finding that there are these communities and they have these enclaves that are running, all of them are running the same types of businesses. Where are you going to find that kind of thing where it's just like a whole bunch of the same type of people doing the same type of businesses, and all of them are taking advantage of a system? I don't think we're seeing that in many communities, but when he did go to, I believe it was California and a couple of other places, he did, go into these communities that were more white immigrants or immigrants who weren't black or brown. I can't remember what the nationality of the people were, but it was like they were in this kind of motel looking kind of business. I do remember seeing that clip. So he's just not seeing those, because those weren't the ones that were in the news as much. It was mostly when he went to Minneapolis, that was the one that got the most screen time. So of course people are going to harp in on that, but he has gone to other places and dealt with people who weren't black or brown.
Versus cocaine, right? And if we as a country really cared about people doing illicit drugs, why didn't we raid clubs? Why didn't we raid Studio 54? Why don't we raid people on Wall Street? Why don't we raid? We know to keep going to the places where the crack is, never where the cocaine is, right? And that.
Okay, so now he's talking about crack cocaine versus powder cocaine, right? Okay, but the problem with this argument is that black people were the ones who pushed for harsher crack cocaine laws. And there's a lot of evidence of this. You can look. It's not the NAACP. I can't remember the name of the organization, but it's a black organization, and you had a lot of black people. Charles Rangel was one of them, who were pushing for harsh crime penalties for crack cocaine, because at the time crack cocaine was, it was harming a lot of people in black communities specifically. And what black people were saying was, oh, the police aren't taking as much, they're not paying as much attention to this as they are powder cocaine. And when the white people are having problems with powder cocaine, the police are there, getting the powder cocaine out of their neighborhoods, but they're not coming to get them out. It's like white people are either damned if they do or damned if they don't. So it's like, if they don't pay enough attention to the crack epidemic, then it's racism because they haven't done enough. If they do too much, now it's racism because they're in the community way too much. It just, no matter what, it always reverts back to it's racist. But again, over time, what you'll see is there's a pattern here. This is not the only time that this has occurred. Also, when you look at homicide rates back in the 30s and 40s, black people were advocating for black police officers. That's when there was a hard push for black police officers, because what was happening is that they felt like there weren't enough black people going to prison for homicides, And so if you look at old black newspapers from the 30s, you'll see a huge push for more black police officers. They pushed for black police officers because they thought that black police officers would care more to eliminate crime in those areas. So we push for things, and then when we get what we ask for, then we cry that there's too much of it, and that's racism. If there's too little of it, that's racism. It's if you look at history, you will see that I'm correct about this, and that's problematic.
That's the sort of like classic Nick Shirley. That's Nick Shirley before Nick Shirley. That's a dude out here. All right, I see these people as villains. So it doesn't even matter that right behind Nick Shirley in a suburban community, you might have all the white collar fraud that you could make content out of for 10 years. We're not going to cover that because that's my neighbor. He's not a criminal. It's these people over here that I got to drive to that are different than me that must be the criminals.
Again, it's about large patches, large swaths of people doing the same crime over and over and over again. Just because you have a neighbor who is doing white collar crime, and who knows which neighbor that you know is doing white collar crime. Where are you going to find that? How are you going to figure out that that's a thing? I mean, he's not making much sense with these arguments. If you really dig into them deep, where are you going to find an entire community of people engaging in some kind of criminal activity easily? I mean, if you could find it, there's also journalists, black journalists, they could go into the white communities and do the same thing, but they're not doing it. What's the interest? People have to have the interest in doing it. You have to be willing to confront people. You have to have the courage to do it. If anybody who's done man on the street interviews, I've done them, and it's not always simple. It's not easy. It's not something that a lot of people want to do, is doing the confrontation with, and do it in a manner where there's not an altercation. It's you have to be able to do it in a way that I think Nick Shirley was pretty successful. He wasn't, you haven't seen him in any violent altercations or anything like that. He's not yelling at people. He's doing it very level-headed, and you have to commend him on that if you don't like anything else.
No, it's real, right? Because we know 78 people have been charged, 60 convicted or pled guilty. So when you know that, does the intention, or the why he may have done it, or the how he did it, does that matter?
I do think the how matters, because I think the how is the difference between a journalist and between like a troll. Do you know what I mean? Like, because Nick Shirley did not lead to all those convictions. Nick Shirley did not like to me. Nick Shirley is like someone who will go somewhere with a microphone already following a narrative and a story that they've established ahead of time. Nick Shirley himself is really, I can't imagine him ever going to a place and being like, oh, actually, y'all, the Haitians weren't eating the chickens. They weren't, you know what? I'm sorry. That's my bad.
It was the dogs,
I went
not
to
the chickens.
Oh, yeah.
Chickens are fine.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying biting the head off, because the dog and cat thing led to so many other like weird fringe things that people were saying. They were like, oh, they're doing blood rituals with chickens and stuff like that, like whatever. Like, Nick Shirley's not going to go to that community and then put cameras in people's faces and ask trolley type questions and then be like, y'all, I did my investigating. Turns out I was just being racist. That's my bad. Like, that's never going to happen. There may be something.
So you're saying you're racist if you go and cover a story and it turns out not to be true. I went to school for journalism. So when I was doing my undergrad internships and things, I worked for a local newspaper, and I had an idea about a certain topic. It was I can't remember the story at the moment, but when I went to go research it, it was not exactly how I thought it was, right? And so I had to kind of change my story, because what I initially thought was true based on the things that I had heard was incorrect. That happens. But that doesn't mean I'm racist because I'm going looking for this story. Like, I'm following a lead that turns out not to be true. I don't understand how that is him being racist just because he goes out and looks for something that he's heard about, or he has a hunch that this is going on. That doesn't make sense either.
That is happening. That we can't. No one's trying to deny is happening. But before you align yourself with the narrative that someone is building, I think it's just important to investigate it, the person and why they're building that narrative. You know, like you will not see Nick Shirley cover a bunch of the sort of rise of Nazism in ICE, let's say.
Yeah.
How do we know? Maybe he will.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, so even if he covers something and he's completely right about it, let's see what this intention is, because I think that also the intention can be backtracked to like, what is he right about? So basically he showed up late to a story. That's actually what happened. This thing was already going through the proper channels of the American justice system, and this kid shows up late and then blows up the thing more. Like,
yeah, so that is true, that there was some investigation going on prior to Nick Shirley going out there. However, it had slowed tremendously, and he lit a fire under people to go and start doing some further investigations. He certainly did, and he got the public involved, which is what media often does. That's what journalists often do. There's a history of journalists doing this kind of thing. John Stossel started off doing this kind of thing for ABC News. There's a lot of journalists who have done this investigative journalism that have brought things to the public eye, and then the public becomes aware of it. Martin Luther King used the media to his advantage. A lot of that stuff of showcasing violence against black people by the police and then reacting not in a non-violent way, he did that for a reason, because he wanted people to see, look, these people we're not even doing anything wrong, and they're beating us upside the head. That kind of shock value, using the media to alert a community that these types of things are going on, that's been the way in journalism forever. I don't see how that is a Nick Shirley thing, or that is wrong. It's a wrong way to do journalism. There's a lot of journalists who have done this over the years.
Amplified it to reinforce the narrative.
Exactly. And it's like, but the narrative isn't, there was some fraud, we investigated, we found it, and the people are being held accountable.
Somali Americans.
The Somali Americans are stealing billions of your. Actually, you know why the price of bread went up? Somali Americans. You know why the price of gas is up? It's not Strait of Hormuz. It's not. No, Somali Americans. And so it.
When did somebody say that the price of bread is going up because of Somali Americans? I don't remember hearing that at all.
It's like, I think you just have to track that stuff, and I wish I could even articulate it a little bit better than I am now, of like how important it is to track how narrative building happens, you know? Because Nick Shirley isn't someone at the cutting edge. Nick Shirley is someone who shows up after the fact to like amplify the aspect of the racist thing that's true, to make the whole racist narrative look true.
Again, he showed up at people who weren't black and brown. Maybe I'll find the clips for this video, but he has, and you know, this guy just hadn't seen that stuff, so now he's reacting as if he's only going after black and brown people. Couldn't be further from the truth. There's a lot of black comedians right now who are ignorant to a lot of things, and they're saying a lot of things. You have Godfrey, D.L. Hughley, and now this gentleman. They're just not well informed on things, and then they go out here and they're interviewed as if they're people who are in the know, who know some things. I mean, celebrities in general are often interviewed like this as if they know things, and unfortunately there are people who will listen to those things and think, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about, but you know, they don't. But they get held. I mean, why are we not asking him about how he makes jokes? It's like, why are we asking him about this kind of stuff? It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, that's it. I'm out.